An arrow took the man beside me through the throat. He dropped without a sound, fingers still clawing at the parapet as blood ran between the stones. "Shields!" roared a soldier from the tower. I slammed mine up just as the next volley struck. Wood cracked, iron screamed. Sparks burst in the rain-darkened air. Below the walls of Fort Red March, the fields burned. Not from raiders, not from rebels, but soldiers. Marching in formation, torches raised, banners furled rather than proudly displayed. 5,000? 10,000? There was no way to know at night. Red March held a garrison of less than 200 men. No horns were blown, no demands, no offer to surrender. And that was when I understood what was happening. This wasn't an attack. It was a preordained, systematic destruction. Welcome to the Knight's Path. Here, you guide the story. Red March squats beside the King's Way, a small stone fort guarding the only reliable road between the western villages and the heart of the realm. If Red March falls, everything beyond it is exposed, and it was clear that tonight, no one was coming to help. Red March wasn't built for sieges. No moat, no proper towers, just stone, men, and a desire to survive the night. We fought anyway, despite the clear numerical disadvantage and the confusion of battle. A ladder slammed against the wall of the section of battlement I was defending. I hacked down as soon as I sensed movement, struggling to see through my helmet at night and with the rain hammering down, adding to the disorientation. I felt my blade bite into fingers, then skull. A body fell backwards into the firelight below. They didn't shout, didn't rush. They just pressed forwards steadily, professionally. That scared me more than the fury-fueled and frantic charges of raiders and rebels ever could. This army was something different. Castles are rarely attacked, maybe once in a generation, and tonight, it was my turn. The gates shuddered once, twice, then exploded inwards, hammered by a blackened ram which we never saw coming through the rain and midnight cloud cover. Inside the courtyard, order quickly collapsed into panic. Men broke rank, women screamed. Smoke rolled across the battlements from fire arrows, somehow able to ignite thatched roofs despite the rain. Names were screamed which wouldn't be answered. I dragged a wounded boy, barely old enough to shave, behind a grain cart and shoved my sword into his hands. "Hold it like it owes you money," I told him. He laughed once. He cried, and then he held the sword. I didn't give speeches. I didn't pray. I didn't look for allied banners. I counted exits. That was when I noticed something wrong. The attackers were carefully stepping around the wooden road marker in the yard, as if it mattered, as if instructed to protect it at all costs from being destroyed. Who were these men? Armies burn villages, loot and pillage the land. They don't protect milestones. This was a professional army with goals and clear instructions from their commanders. If you're enjoying this tale and want to help a small channel find its feet, liking, commenting and subscribing makes a big difference. Thank you. The fort didn't fall at once. It leaked. Men breaking, doors giving, fire spreading. I reached the gatehouse just as the captain took a blade under the ribs. I had picked up a poleaxe which had fallen from an attacker on the battlements. Hard steel, high quality, far too expensive for a meagre soldier's salary. This belonged to a knight. I bore the hammer end down onto the soldier who had just fatally wounded the captain, breaking every bone in his neck, where his chainmail was exposed, rather than the hard plate armour covering his head and torso. The captain grabbed my arm. He gasped, aware that these were his dying breaths. Some riders came through 3 days ago. They didn't stop, didn't help, just measured. What did the captain mean? It was customary in these parts for riders to help out settlements with the constant jobs and improvements upon arrival, to win favour with their host, and sometimes a free meal. Measured? Measured what? Then, the captain was gone. I made my choice the way I always do, decisively. I ran, not away from Red March, but through it. Down the road they hadn't yet touched, towards the stream of fresh water which flowed from the mountains through the battlements with loose iron railings, which locals knew were vulnerable, but hadn't had the inclination to fix, as Red March would never be attacked. It was far too far from the frontline fortifications in the heart of the realm. Dawn broke behind me as I reached the hills. From there, I looked back. Red March burned clearly. No looting, no pursuit, just smoke and silence. I didn't leave immediately. That's how you die, running off into the wilderness with no plans or supplies. I waited until the following night and approached the fort's outskirting villages. Houses remained untouched, unlooted, but bodies were strewn everywhere. Nobody was left alive. I searched the dead, not for coin, for patterns. For every 30 or so dead villagers I found one attacking soldier dead. Most wore no insignia, no house colours, but one corpse was different, older, better equipped, possibly a sergeant or man-at-arms, or someone of similar status. Inside his cloak I found a folded scrap of vellum. This wasn't common. Calf skin is highly durable and good quality material to write on, not common around here. I unfolded what turned out to be a map fragment, hand-drawn, precise, and on it, Red March was circled. So was Greywatch Ford, the river crossing to the west of here. And a third mark, not a town, a place scratched out on royal maps, a place that officially did not exist, only known to a few men brave enough to venture out deep into the wild, the forgotten areas of the old kingdom. Red March, Greywatch Ford, the King's Way, and faintly a ruined name, Caer Velin. This wasn't disorganized chaos. It was sequencing, a battle plan. I reached a crossroads as the sun climbed and stumbled across a stray horse, saddled and supplied with what looked like bread as hard as rock and a leather cantina with some brown liquid inside. It had to be from the attacking soldiers. Smoke rose behind me, and 3 paths lay ahead. If I rode west, I might save the lives of those at Greywatch Ford, or ride straight into the same fire. If I rode through the mountains and took the shortcut to Highstone Keep, I would walk into halls where men smiled whilst sharpening knives behind their backs. But perhaps I could speak to a great knight and inform them of what had happened here. Maybe Sir Aldrich of Ashenford. If I rode east, I would leave the roads entirely. My grandfather had told me never to speak of Caer Velin. What happened there cannot be known. All of those who ventured out to that forsaken place either did not return, and the few that did never spoke again, and left within a few weeks of returning. However, this army intended to move to this location, and I could outpace them. The kingdom was standing, but it was coming apart. It was inexplicable that an army of this size was able to get to Red March. Something monumental was happening, and I needed to make a decision on my next move. I tightened my grip on the reins and rode, but not before asking you. Do I ride hard for Greywatch Ford and warn those there of the looming threat? Do I cut through the mountains to Highstone Keep to inform those supposedly in charge? Do I abandon the roads entirely and ride for Caer Velen, a ruined castle erased from royal maps, to seek the answers to this devastation? Vote in the comments below and subscribe to catch the next episode.